Got that.
Okay, it's officially 5:30. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of the Marion County Board of Education to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I'm going to ask everybody to stand, and the flag's right back here. Attention, salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is communications, and I'm going to hand it over to Superintendent Schlosser for her report.
Thank you. The first item on our agenda is leadership, and I'm going to give Ms. Badgett just a moment to get that pulled up. She has been gracious enough to fill in for Ms. Hood and Ms. Stewart. I'd like to start out under leadership by welcoming Ms. Debbie Spalding. You and I have worked together for a lot of years, just never in this capacity. So welcome, welcome. Also, we have two CKEC outstanding educators, and they are Tracy Cochran and Taylor Harden. So just want to congratulate them. Our leadership retreat will be July the 27th through the 30th at our KASA conference, Kentucky Association of School Administrators. We've completed one of 4 of our leadership series. If you'll notice on the back wall with our portrait of a graduate, we have lots of chart paper and lots of postcards, and we are going ahead and starting to talk about what our goals and what some of our results. And our first series was talking about our staff and our people in our organization. And also would like to commend Ms. Courtney Murphy for going ahead and scheduling a counselor's retreat this year to address the fact that they are also leaders in our district. Next item, teaching and learning. Obviously, that's our business. And so I do want to say best wishes to our 2020-21 retirees. We know they put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into their profession. We're going to miss them, but hopefully we'll see them come back around. We have wonderful summer learning opportunities, and we've got 2 weeks in June and 2 weeks in July. We're doing Monday through Thursday. Had the opportunity to provide transportation this year. Very thankful to have those opportunities, to definitely hope for a smooth transition with a different kind of disrupted learning that we had last year. We made it centralized, so our elementary students are at Glasscock and our secondary students are at Marion County High School. We also have some other learning opportunities with our Friskies, and I hope that several kiddos have taken advantage of that. And then also our migrant education in 21st century. And we're sending home books and activities. They're being mailed home to our students in grades K through 6. Had learning opportunities at our area technology center, and you can see that we're dreaming big: health science, automotive, carpentry, CAD/CAM, and machine tool. And you know, we really hope that things are going to be normal in the healthcare world, so we can get back to having a summer dream academy. But something exciting for our teachers this summer, and I just kind of want to show everyone this if you're on camera, is that we are having summer teacher externships. And so when we talk about marketing and connecting with the community, We know that as teachers, we know what school looks like, but do we know what that business and industry looks like? So our teachers are actually going to go out into the field and they are going to work alongside. So we actually have a handbook and they'll spend the day. And so we're really great. It's really great that we have these kinds of partnerships. And we're very fortunate in Marion County to have so many business and industry, because in other communities in rural Kentucky, you do not have the number of business and industries that you have to even do those kinds of partnerships. We also have virtual learning team planning underway. And so in other words, we're going to be offering some virtual learning for all of our students next year, kindergarten through 12th grade. Now, we normally do that for our secondary kids, middle school and high school, but this year, to make the transition, we are offering that district-wide, so we are planning for those as well. A big shout out for our Marion County Educational Foundation. We had the opportunity to offer an additional $5,284.81 in grants to make sure that kids have innovative opportunities in the classroom. So, and Ms. Truitt here leads the way with us, so thank you. Dual credit is a big deal for all of our kids, but we don't just do that at the academic level in a traditional way. We also do that at the area technology center. So when kids graduate from Marion County High School, they have an opportunity to have college credits at Marion County at college level and at a business and industry level. And our Dream Bus is well on its way, and I've got some pictures that is actually funded with our Title I, and you can see some very big smiles there. And again, one of the reasons I love our Dream Bus so much, other than that they're out in the community connecting, but when you see this next picture of the bus is just as a reminder, still wearing the mask there, but just that our kids were a big part of designing the bus and also creating the bus. The next picture you can see is just that you've got two young students. They're drawing with sidewalk. You can see that there's hula hoops in the back. And so we're actually learning and we're exercising and feeding and having a lot of fun. So when we talk about that whole child, the Dream Bus definitely provides a big part of that. You can't ever get tired of seeing those big smiles. And as we go on and we talk about our 6 big dreams, everybody go ahead and mark your calendar for May the 5th. And that will be our spring summit. It has been 2 years since we've had that opportunity to have our summit due to the pandemic that we've just lived through. So we want to start talking about not just our 6 big dreams that we currently have, but thinking about what those 6 big dreams look like at phase 2, as I say, 2.0. Just like the books you publish and you read, they come around with another version. So what's that going to look like? Very excited about that. And then when we talk about our next generation, and I see we've got some younger children here and some of our older children, but just our next generation in Marion County, we want to congratulate Charlie Browning. She was selected to serve with the Kentucky Educational Commissioners Student Advisory Council. Ooh, that's a mouthful there. But that's a pretty big deal for her to be a part of that. And I want to say congratulations, a young man, David Hernandez. Is that correct, Mr. Mattingly?
Yes.
He is going to receive the Miss Jane Award at Lebanon Elementary. And I have to say that I really, truly appreciate that. My daughter actually had Miss Jane in 1st grade. And I remember when she won for Educator of the Year. So Miss Jane was a very special lady, and it's great that Lebanon Elementary continues to give out that award. Our Governor Scholars kiddos are leaving for their campuses on June 20th, 26th, and 27th. As we talk about learning begins at birth and ensuring that all of our kids are ready for kindergarten, we will have jump starts at all 4 elementary schools. So as you all know, this year, I keep saying it was a little bit of a different year. And so there were some students in preschool that did all virtual. So trying to get them into the building just to let them understand, what's it like to go through and get a lunchroom tray and all those kinds of things that we take for granted if a child's in the 4th grade. So to get them ready for that. We will have our billboard and we will congratulate our graduates. And I think I've got a picture somewhere along the way of that. If not, you can check that out on our website. Our Dream Bus is out and running every day, twice a day, and if you can't get to the Dream Bus, then we do have a feeding site here on campus, and we also have our van that delivers meals as well. And if there's someone that needs food and you are not aware of a pickup, please make sure that let us know. I know that our Friskies will also help us, and that schedule is out on our website. We are working on our Rotary Partnership, and they typically will serve a great breakfast for all of our new staff, and it's a great way to welcome them to the community. And for this year, we graduated 260 graduates, and that was both from the high school and UC Spalding. 72 students received industrial certifications through the ATC. And 7 of our industrial maintenance seniors were accepted to the Kentucky FAME program. And if you're not familiar with that, those students already have a job. They work 2 days a week and go to school 3 days a week. And in 2.5 years, they are typically certified and they go into full-time work. So it's a great opportunity for them and a great way for them to have their education paid for. Very excited to announce that we had $1.2 million in scholarships secured for the class of 2021. And as we continue to talk about communications, we want to celebrate the fact that our Lady Knights had the opportunity to appear in the regional finals of the softball tournament. Came up a little bit short, but it was only 3 times in the history of our high school that they had made that appearance. And to make our summer feeding program even better, Ms. Wheeler wrote a grant, and we have boxes and boxes of books to give away as well. So you're not just getting food, but also books. And we actually have those that are written in Spanish and in our language. Another exciting announcement is that our Department of Education approved our district facilities plan. So you'll see some items on our agenda that we can start having that discussion. Our first day of school, I know no one wants to talk about this, is August the 11th, and I'm a countdown person, and it's 8 weeks away, okay? Now, I tell you that to enjoy those 8 weeks. Don't start fretting about 8 weeks. Enjoy those 8 weeks. And that our opening day for staff will be on that Tuesday, August the 10th. And we already have something really special planned for our community and our region, which is a mental health summit on September the 11th. And that is not just for educators, that is for all parties involved, business and industry, local EMTs, different folks like that. And I've heard from several people across the region that they're excited about our work, and they'll be there. And we do have a wonderful guest speaker recommended by Ms. Sharp, Mr. Jason Gibson. So, you're welcome. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you. All right. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the finance report with Mr. Spalding.
So looking at the month of April, start looking at the biggest differences on the receipt side. Our property tax is up 10%. Motor vehicle tax is up 44%. I still think it's catching up with the county clerk's office closed this time last year. Utility tax wise, it's not a big number. We are making the right way. We're receiving some payments finally that due to COVID too. We were down 25%, now we're down 9%. And working on this month, I think we're going to either be right at the breaking point or maybe a little above cheaper. In lieu of, we talked about before, it actually shows 626%. I've got a meeting with Maker's Mark tomorrow afternoon to try to work through some more details of in lieu of versus the steel spirits tax. So we're having a conversation tomorrow afternoon about that. The interest, it is what it is kind of deal. We talk about this every month, but our interest rate went down last year from about 1.53 to 0.25 this year. So we're taking a huge hit on the interest on the revenue side of that. Seek, why it shows it's down 462,000. If you remember back in December, we got some, well, the state did, they sent it to a grant, so they actually get Fund 2 instead of Fund 1. So we're about in line where we should be with Seek, even though it does show a shortfall there. Medicaid reimbursements unfavorable 14%. Again, we're catching up as we've had students in the building. We didn't have those billable services while we were at home. And then the other was just about 13,000, and that's just due to some immediate property taxes that we could receive last year at a different time than we received this year. Overall, the expenses, as to be expected due to COVID and not having a traditional year, the expenses are down from top to bottom, including all areas of instruction and stuff, because we didn't have the extra stuff going on this year. Plant operation and maintenance, of course, due to building repairs and maintenance and utility costs being down, and transportation. Debt service, you'll see, is unfavorable 22%, but we did make it payment since April, so that's going to be a net zero change at the end. And our fund transfers is favorable 78%, but that's due to the CATS grant being less of a match this year. The $1 million question always, what's the projected come in? Before you can ask, I want to get, I'm going to go about 6.2 million. I think we've done good. And now again, if we get this position next year, preparing 21-22's expenses and receipts, this current year should be a little different too, because of the COVID effect. It's going to take more than just 15 months or not. So we're working through that. Any questions?
Has there been any conversation that you had about when the motor vehicle will balance out, or when?
Yeah, we talked about it. I mean, it's just
No indication of
this
school year.
well, here's the other thing. We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people have got stimulus money about new vehicles, so some of them may be multiple facets. It might be people catching up from the taxes, and then what's going to happen with all these new vehicles sitting still right now? Are we going to have a big mad rush later on to the electronic chips? So it's a very fluid question. It's a fair question, but it's a hard one to answer, to be honest with you.
Do we have an idea why our property taxes up? Is it assessments? Is it time?
Well, of course, we kept the same, but we had a lot of construction going on, so that helped. The assessments last year, he barely got him going because the time he's going to start the assessment process when COVID hit, and they wouldn't allow to go out. So I think we're going to see the effects of that this year, because I think he's trying to get, some people got letters, including myself this year, that your property went up. So I think he caught last year's and this year's all together, so that could increase our assessment value when we get to August to talk about that.
Other questions?
The only other thing I will say is there's a state task force that started in the estimate today. They started looking at how the SEEK allocation is funded. Of course, it came out of CARE in 1990, and how some districts are saying the more local support we're putting in, the less state support we're getting. So there is a task force looking at that. What will come of that, we don't know, but we'll keep you updated on that as well. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is awesome stuff, Teacher of the Year Awards.
It is awesome stuff. Board, we have not had an opportunity to recognize our Teachers of the Year. Usually, Campbellsville University has a wonderful program for them, but COVID-19 changed that. And those Teachers of the Year that are recognized at Campbellsville become our Teachers of the Year. We have 3 wonderful candidates, and I'll tell you what they have in common. They made school work last year in a very big way when we needed them to step up. But that does not diminish what they were doing before COVID, right? Because they are superstars and have remained superstars during a very difficult time. The first one will be our Elementary Teacher of the Year, and I'm especially excited about this one because I have known this individual since she was 15 years old, because I was her sophomore English teacher. And it's awesome to be able to recognize her as our Elementary Teacher of the Year, Ms. Hope Darty. Our Middle School Teacher of the Year presently serves as Marion County Middle School's Instructional Coach. She's fairly new to that position, and she has done a remarkable job, as she did when she was in the classroom. Miss Vivian May is our middle school. High School Teacher of the Year is one of those teachers that never goes home. She works well beyond her contracted days. And you know that one-to-one, 24/7 technology stuff you all talk about and approve all the time? She is very instrumental in making it work. Her work has put a device in the hands of kids and helped teachers find instructional technology that works. Ms. Rebecca Emmons.
I just want to say thank you three for all of the work that you've done. I know each of you and have been impacted by each of you in some way, shape, or form. So I just want to express my extreme gratitude and appreciation for the work that you do in our district every day. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is public comment, and I know that we've got at least one individual signed up to speak. If there are other people who would like to speak, I'd like to ask that you go ahead and sign up as well. But if not, then I'll ask Mr. Mullins.
Thank you all.
And one item to note, Mr. Mullins, historically, we move people to 5 minutes, so just so that we can
Oh,
try.
I'm sorry, but this can't be done in 5 minutes. So
Do your best, please.
I will.
Thank
I
you.
will. I'll try to keep it short. What I'm handing you out is the very first thing is it's in yellow on our buses. That's a sign that's up in the front of the school bus on every single one of them. And it's rules that students are to abide by while they're on the bus. Okay? Now, we've got the rules there, and they get to see them every single day. But we have lots and lots and lots of problems. Now, my bus holds 75 students. It's a brand new bus. I just got it this year. And I'm thankful that they gave me a new bus. It's nice to drive a new bus. It'll hold 75 students if they're all of medium build or small. And we know that's not the case. Okay? There's kids much bigger than medium build. And there's lots of them out there. The leg room on my bus, when you sit down in the seat, like this, you have 8 inches from here to the front of that, to the back of that other seat. Okay? A lot of the other buses have 11 inches. This one has 8 inches. I measured. For safety reasons, every year the seats get higher. Okay? And we know what that reason is because putting kids in seat belts seems like a really bad idea. So the seats are higher so that in case there's an impact, they have cushion in front of them. Okay. Now, the things I just described to you are safety features, I understand, but they also create lots of problems. Okay. Not asking you to redesign a school bus. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is to help you understand as board members, because I know the staff already knows this, okay, because it's been talked about, but I want you as board members, and I've sat right where you have sat, where you're sitting right now. Started out down here where Debbie is, and ended up there where Carrie was, okay? So I know what you're thinking, I know where you're coming from, okay? And I know there's not a whole lot that you can do about it. But I still feel the need to let you all know what bus drivers go through on a day-to-day basis. Okay? And I'm not saying that every child that gets on that bus is a troublemaker. Out of the 80-some kids that are scheduled to be on my bus, that are scheduled to be on it, I never have it at one time. But out of those, I'm going to say 10% give me a lot of trouble. 90% of them give me no trouble whatsoever. And I have an aide. I have an aide on my bus to help me. Okay? Not every bus has an aide. Okay? But you have children who do not obey the rules, who are constantly disobeying the rules. Okay? Our job then is to take that second sheet that I showed you, which is a referral, gives you the problems that a student will have and what the consequences are with that student being that. Okay? Great rules, awesome rules. Okay? But are they enforced? No, they're not. Okay? It's not black and white. A lot of times it depends on the driver, the student, the teacher, the staff. Not everybody's treated equally, never have been, and probably never will. Okay? What we're here tonight, I think, to ask from this administration is to support the bus drivers and quit supporting the kids. Okay? The kids are children. They're not in authority. They have no authority on the bus, even though many of them think they do. They have no authority on the bus. Any child that misbehaves on the bus should be punished. Okay? Now, my opinion is that if I have a student who creates a severe problem, instead of me writing up this, giving it to the administrator at the bus garage, who then in turn gives it to somebody in the school where that student goes to school, and then they look at it, they decide that the punishment that they want, and then they get it back to. Okay? Now, in an ideal world, if it happens in the morning, I should have it by lunch. Okay? But I don't. None of us do. Okay? Some schools are better than others. Some I'll have it by the end of the day. I mean, some are just better than others. It's like every line of work. You have some people that work harder than others. Okay? But what I would like to see happen is when I have a student who creates a severe problem, okay, that the administration lets the bus driver decide immediately right then if they want that student on the bus that afternoon or the next morning. And if they don't, the student should be removed from the bus until all this is taken care of, not the other way around. Because a lot of times you have a student that misbehaves, you write one of these up, okay? And if it's a day or 2 days before you get this back, okay, then you still got that student on the bus, especially if the student got into a verbal argument with the aide or the bus driver. Okay. Well, I already told you it was going to take more than 5 minutes. Well, and no offense, Harry, no offense whatsoever, but when I asked to speak here, somebody should have told me how much time I was going to have. Nobody told me I was going to have 5 minutes. Nobody.
But you've been informed now, and I'm asking you to please reach the conclusion. Okay? Please.
I'm sorry, but it's more of the same. This is just more of the same. I want to give you, those kids are gone. Very quickly, I want to read to you what students say to bus drivers and aides on the bus.
Please be aware that if you're using profane language, it's not appropriate.
I won't use profane language. Okay, but I'm just letting you know. You're not my mother. Shut up. Go back up front, you bitch. I can do what I want. You're not my boss. A student asked the monitor, how old are you? What is all that flab hanging from your chin? Monitor told student, full mask over the nose. His reply, don't start with me. Since my 5 minutes are up, what I want to say in conclusion is this. I came here in good faith to try to help you all understand where we are coming from. Okay, how hard our job is. They tell us at the beginning of the year, you're the most important person in the school system. You're the first person they see in the morning, the last they see in the afternoon. Okay? We're not treated that way. Okay? I don't know what you can do about it. I don't know if you'll even do anything about it. But I'm telling you one thing. This is just a promise. Things are only going to get worse. They're not going to get better. If you all would like to hear more, Scott has my phone number. If y'all want to give me a call, I'd be more than happy to let you in on many, many, many things that have gone on this year. I think you should be aware of it. Thank you very much.
I just want to take a moment and say that I do sincerely appreciate, I know a lot of people who work in the bus garage, who drive buses, who ride buses. I know it's not an easy job to do. I know that. And I know that you all don't always have children who follow the rules and who will listen appropriately and behave effectively. And I know that when they don't do that, it causes safety problems on the bus. So while we may not be able to offer you the solution that you've asked for in giving bus drivers immediate opportunity to decide what happens with these children, there are things that I think we can do, and we're open to looking at that. So
Appreciate it.
I thank you all for taking the time. You all have all of our email addresses and you're able to reach us. So if you do feel like you need to reach out to your board member, I encourage you to do so. We are accessible to every member of this community when things come up, and that applies to employees as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mullins, I have something to say too. I am a past bus driver for over 20-something years,
So you
so
know.
I know what you're going through.
Right.
And I think it's something that's took place for years and years. You're not the first one, and you're not going to be the last
Oh,
one.
I
And we have
understand.
these
Yeah, I
conversations,
understand that, but,
and we do our best to try to make the rules work.
right.
But sometimes they don't work the way we want the rules.
And we understand that, and we deal with it every single day, every single day. So, and I'm not here for you all to fix the problem, that's not it. There's just more that I had to say, more things I wanted you to understand. But since we don't have the time, I would appreciate a call from somebody if you're interested, okay? And I'll let you know what I know, okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
So the next item on the agenda is item number 4, which is student learning services. And I need a motion to consider approval of the 21-22 trauma-informed care plan as required by the School Safety and Resilience Act.
I make a motion to consider approval of 21-22 trauma-informed care plan as required by the School Safety and Resilience Act.
Second.
Ms. Sharp, would you like to discuss it?
You can. Mr. Naples and I had a conversation. We would go back to the.
She delegated that over here.
You want to speak to Mr. Naples?
That's fine, yeah.
That's
That is part of Senate Bill 1, that came out in 2019, required all districts to have this plan by July 1st of 2021. I really feel like we're leaps and bounds above other districts, just with time we spend and devotion we've done to social and emotional learning, with the hiring of our school psychologists, our social and emotional educators, and the things we had in place. For us, this plan was easy. We just had to really document all the good things we're doing and find out what bullets that it fell under most easily, and some of them could have overlapped in several bullets. So really it's a combination of the social and emotional work and the school safety pieces that we have had going on. The trauma-informed teams have been in place at all the schools. We do need to do a better job of training those teams, and that's what we're really going to focus on for this year. Are there any particular questions you have about the plan itself? A lot of it was the work, like I said, of Ms. Sharp and her outstanding team, because we've been doing all this alone. It's just a matter of really just put it on paper.
I just wanted to say thank you for putting it all together, because that is, that, we can do whatever we do, but if it's not documented, we didn't do it. So I appreciate that. That was very detailed. Thank you.
Credit goes there, so thank you all.
No, it's a team.
It
Team
is
effort
a
for sure.
team.
Thank you.
This lines up with the discipline piece, so it was really a team effort, but her people really lay the groundwork for this to be successful.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. All right, I need let's see. So the next item on the agenda is to acknowledge the first reading for the 2021 policy update number 44 and procedure update number 25 with changes to policy 01.41. So acknowledged.
Do we need to let them know what it is?
I mean, we can, I mean, if there's,
Or basically, there's two state bills, basically, and one local bill that we're just reading.
do you want us to pull them up?
Not necessary. I just didn't know.
If you'll just go
I know
ahead.
there's one that I know for sure, and that is what we talked about with the chair.
Right, right.
The chair person,
And
to
the
make
two,
sure that is in there.
right, and basically the other two were just updates from, that happen occasionally from the state.
Because of a federal or a state regulation.
Regulation, right, okay. So I mean, not necessary, but I didn't know if we just need to put it out there what it is that we're approving.
And so when we do the second reading and approval, we'll cover those in greater detail.
Okay, that'd be fine.
And I'll make sure they're listed like.
Okay,
That'd be
just
great.
so the public knows what we're approving and why we're approving.
I need a motion on item 4C.
Now I make a motion to consider approval of 2022 certified appeals panel. Can you explain that?
Yes, in the event that we have a certified staff member that appeals their evaluation, it goes before the appeals panel before it would come before this board. It's just, it's a requirement,
Gotcha.
and they are elected by their peers, the people that serve, other than the one appointment, which is Mr. Brady that the board appoints. He oversees our evaluation plans for certified and classified.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion on item 4D.
I make a motion to consider approval to purchase one conventional 72 passenger Bluebird bus.
I'll second.
What number bus is that?
This will be 4 on the year, and basically part of the DEER grant, which you will see later on in the diesel emissions reduction act. We were fortunate enough to be selected. Many years that's just a blind draw, you get it or you don't. With the timing of that, we've got to do a purchase order to them by July 7th, so it really just sped up. We were awarded it in February. Traditionally, we wait more to October, December to put those orders, November to put those orders in. Just with this grant, it's going to speed that timeline up for us if you want to be eligible for that $20,000.
Gotcha.
So part of the purchase of this bus is funded by a specific grant, and then the remaining.
Yes, diesel emission reduction act, the DEER grant, will make $20,000 for the purchase of that. And the only reason I'm asking for the timing to be what it is now.
Will that come out this year's budget or next year's budget?
It will probably be next year, but
There's 3 buses allocated next year. We'll order 1 now and 2 in the fall.
In the fall. So we've purchased the 3 for this year.
And that's one of the questions I had. We're working with them on this. Could it be for this year or next year? But it's just the way their grant timelines don't match up with Kentucky purchasing timelines. And that's why we're going to go ahead and do it now if you approve.
Other questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. The next item on the agenda is item 5, student support services, and we are doing discussion of next steps of construction projects. Randy, I saw you come in. There you are. Okay.
Well, good evening. Glad to be with you all here tonight. You all may have known or heard that the DFP, District Facility Plan for Marion County, was approved at the most recent state board meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point in time. So now your all's DFP has been updated per KDE, Kentucky Department of Education, which gives you all the freedom and leniency to move forward with the projects that are contained on that DFP. So, we're here to answer any questions that you might have about how to move forward, what the timeline is for moving forward, if you're ready to move forward, or any questions that you might have.
So on the DFP, we are held to just pursuing any construction projects under level 1 on the DFP.
Yes, that is correct. So as you all might recall, the school center construction projects are broken up into priority 1 and priority 2. It's a 4-year plan, so priority 1 projects are intended to be just that, priority 1, and to be undertaken if the board so desires to in the first 2 years of that 4-year plan. And then priority 2 projects are the second 2 years or beyond, because inevitably you will not do and get to everything that's on the DFP. But to answer your question, yes, priority 1 projects is what you should be looking at right now.
And our first step, when we decide which projects to move forward with, would be to issue a BG1.
First step would be to consider a BG1, which is a document that for the high school project, you all had approved that back late last year, 2020. At the same time, we had drafted up some options for the new Calvary Elementary School that was under consideration at the time. So BG1 basically is a KDE form that we fill out, the board approves, and it gets submitted to KDE that basically tells KDE facilities specifically and finance, because there's both a facilities perspective and a finance aspect to it, that you all are moving forward with the project. And they look at that, compare it to the DFP to make sure that that project is aligned with the DFP. And then from the budget side to make sure that the funding sources make sense and are appropriate, which we'll work with Scott and your all's physical agent, Baird, to identify those funding sources for whichever project you decide to move forward with.
Okay. And as far as the timing, what's the quickest, and do you just put in BG1 for one project, or do you do it for multiple projects?
You could do separate BG1s for multiple projects, yes. Each school center would have a separate BG1. Like right now, you all have open BG1s for the middle school edition, and we're wrapping that up right now. We're working on and have some documents to present to you later on for the high school renovation and addition. So those are 2 separate BG1s. And if you all are considering moving forward with multiple projects, most likely those would be separate BG1s.
But we can do them.
You can approve them at the same time. They can move forward concurrently, absolutely.
So theoretically speaking, we talk about it, we can get a BG1 next month, or say vote on it, then it goes to your hands. You know what? It goes to the board. And,
yeah, we could help draft it, and then you all would approve it, and then it would get submitted to FactFact, which is KDE's online software that they use to process and approve those documents. And actually the district, probably Scott, would be the one that would be creating that BG1, at least in FactFact, because only the district can initiate that BG1 within FactFact.
And so what we would need is some direction on what project you would want him to start on, so that he can initiate that, so it could be approved. You're gonna want to see something when we start BG1.
right. We'll take action and move forward.
Right.
We got the ball rolling. From our standpoint,
Yes.
is it just a discussion of, is it something we need to do now? Something we need to do as a special meeting? What is it that we need to talk about?
Well, on the agenda tonight is discussion of next steps. So we can absolutely talk about which way we'd like to go, or if we'd like to do 2 projects concurrently, and then out of that discussion, put items on the agenda for approval next month.
Right. So thoughts? Anybody?
Well, I'll jump into the pool. So this has been a long-standing process. Everybody knows that we've been doing this and having this particular conversation for a while. And the bulk of the conversation, I think, with this DFP has centered around Calvary Elementary School and Lebanon Elementary School, and those being the priority for this DFP. In my mind, that hasn't changed. I think those 2 facilities still sit atop the priority list. I understand that my children go to Glasscock Elementary School and Marion County Middle, so I believe there are other impacts to be made at their other elementary schools for sure. But I think those two are, in my mind, the top priority. That being said, I don't think that either one of them outweighs the other. So if we were looking at voting on and approving BG1s, I'd like to see those projects run concurrently if we can make that happen. I know that there can be challenges to doing something like that and considerations to be made, but I wouldn't want to say to either of those school families that one building is more important than the other, because they both have critical needs. All of our buildings do, but those two have critical needs.
And touching based on critical needs, I know later on with BG, we was talking about updating safety protocols on all the buildings. Now, is that something, if we know we're going to do that and it's a safety issue, is that something, do you have to issue a BG1 for each individual school to do what it is we're wanting to do with the front doors and this, or how would something like that work?
Talking about doing district-wide upgrades for safety and security.
Yeah, isn't that?
That I've seen that done both ways. Truthfully, it's probably best to do that as a single BG1 because it's security upgrades to multiple facilities within a district, and that can all be contained within one BG1.
Gotcha. Is that?
So that would basically be all of item 1E. So when we talk about the renovation to upgrade all existing facilities to meet the most current life safety requirements of Kentucky Building Code, that's what we're talking about.
That's correct.
The high schools will be addressed,
Yeah.
correct?
The high schools will be addressed as part of the ongoing renovation
And then
project.
if we do the two BG1s at the same time for Lebanon Elementary and Calvary, they will be addressed.
Correct.
And we do have secure vestibules in the rest of our facilities. And so, but you could go through and tell us high priorities, correct?
We could,
Okay.
absolutely.
And so just to piggyback off of what Carrie said, that too is that's at the top of my list is the safety for all the schools as well as Lebanon Elementary and Calvary. And we going on with the high school, so.
Frequent West Marion as often as some other parents and grandparents up here. Do they have a secure entry vestibule so that you're funneled? Okay, so those two, and Glasscock does as well, so that you cannot gain access to the school building except by going to the office first.
But I do want to say at West Marion, just as another note, our HVAC is
Yeah,
something that needs to be addressed. We also have a roof at Marion County Middle School that's been a bit, and then, you know, and as we've talked about, you can't do everything, but there are some things that we know that we need to bring before the board. In conjunction with the other two projects that we're talking about.
Randy, or Mr. Abel or Scott, on those critical, like the HVAC at West Marion, the roof at Marion County Middle School, I know that you put together a big, very nice PDF for us that identified critical needs for each building. Does that PDF list out, like provide maybe priority projects at each building, or is that something that we would want to ask Mr. Abel and maybe Mr. Spalding to kind of put together for us to go through, you know, a priority list in each building that we may not be able to touch everything in, you know, every word of this DFP, but what are the high points that we need to absolutely hit at each building, like the HVAC, like the roof, like things like that.
Right. I would think it would be worth revisiting that list and just updating that list to make sure it's the most up-to-date and accurate information. I would think that we could have that list updated to you all at Charles next board meeting, kind of review that, go through it.
Great.
July 8th.
Can we have it on paper, please? We can kind of.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I'm not opposed to having action either. Yeah, I don't know how, whether we're good to go on some of it, not all of it. Moving forward, of course, you know, the money numbers right now are crazy, and but in my mind, it's the safety first, and then the next highest priorities and the new schools.
We have Bear to come in July too.
we have had conversations with them about our current bonding. And last week they shared 40 million. As you all know, that, I mean,
Very
that's
good number.
so, but we can have them at our next, yes.
Just to understand, and is that, so,
I'd like to ask you something, Randy.
Yes, ma'am.
When you add something, does that change the overall, say you give us a list, does that change the overall as far as, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this. Can we add to that list as we go along, or because of money and stuff, or
You mean,
how does that work?
like, after you create VG1?
Yes.
The VG1 can be modified at any point during the project. You can change the description, add a scope, remove something, change the dollars, etc. So a VG1 is it's a fluid document. And actually, over the course of the project, it will get changed multiple times. But yes, it is flexible.
One important thing I need to point out, those numbers that are on the DFP that's just approved, they're KDE standardized number from about 2 years ago, so don't get caught up and hopefully wishful thinking in the budget.
Yeah.
And that's a big concern. I want the moving number right now.
Right, and everybody knows what materials are and all that.
So, like, our bonding potential is high, but building cost is high.
That is correct.
Yeah. And if it may stay high, who knows?
So I have a crystal ball.
But I don't, regardless, I think we keep, what you guys think about it.
So what I hear you saying is that you'd like a BG1 at a minimum for Calvary Elementary and Lebanon Elementary. Is that what
And
I'm?
possibly even the safety
Safety,
features.
yeah.
For all the schools, to get us all up to date on the safety features, to at least discuss, maybe not approve all of them, but to at least have that in the discussion for next meeting to where we can approve.
Okay. Got it.
and then that updated priority list at each building.
Okay. And paper copies.
Yes.
Okay.
I like to highlight. I'm with Tim color.
Other questions or comments on that?
So that's just, so what about, is this for the high school as well?
No, this is just discussion of the current DFP. Absolutely. Yeah, so we'll move on to the discussion, just a second. Any other discussions of next steps on construction projects for this DFP? Because one thing you'll notice is that the high school is no longer on it, because we are addressing the high school right now. Except for something under item 3. But otherwise, the high school is being addressed. Other thoughts? Everybody topped out on this one?
Not at this time.
Yeah.
All right. So if everybody's okay, we'll go ahead and move to item 5B. And I need a motion on item 5B.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of revised 2021-2022 salary schedule.
I'll second.
Scott?
Yes, there's 5 positions, so back May 13th, for you all approved the step. Over 13 pages, I overlooked 5 positions and did not calculate the 1%. This is just correcting what's to get the rest of the car, so there's no oversight. So I'm asking you to approve this to get the rest of the positions back up where we are currently. That's my fault.
All in favor? Aye. Item 5C is discussion of additional staff compensation for 21-22 salary schedule. Scott, you want to start this one off too?
Sure. So along that lines, May 13th, we approve step increase and 1%. And there's some discussions of some future compensation, be it another additional 1% or possibly a $500 per employee gross one-time payment. We looked at that, some of y'all asked, a net would be in the neighborhood of $300 to $380, depending on an individual's tax responsibilities, tax bracket, and dependents they may claim. That cost would have added an additional $235,000 that were above what we already approved. Additional 1% will add another $175,000. So you're about a $60,000 cost to do the 1%. Less than 1% of it is the bonus. Also, a bonus does not go into an employee's retirement calculations. So, and it compounds over years. The other thing in fear, if we do anything beside the district percentage, is if other districts are doing percentages, our gap could get separated more so, and then maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, we're looking at this trying to catch back up. So, just some talking points and discussions. Ms. Larkin and I did talk with our board attorney, like y'all asked, to kind of get the insights on what we could and couldn't do, and I'll let you provide that his documentation to you guys.
I appreciate you looking into that. And
This is a learning opportunity for me too. I learned a lot.
you know, and I did talk to some people. I talked to some bus travelers and people at work. And the bonus is a one-time deal, and so the 1% is something that adds on for years and years. And so, you know, that's and with the retirement, so that's where I'm leaning toward.
I know I'm the new one here. One of the things I was able to witness this year by going out in the schools, and I'm sure you all seen it too, is they've worked really hard. And we've asked lots of things from lots of people that really didn't in their job description, but they did it, and they did it with smiles, and sometimes they concerns, but they did it. I would love for us to do the 1% and also bring us closer to what everyone around us is doing, because we want to recruit. And like, if you will look at some of the universities, they're not producing a lot of individuals in the education field, and I'm afraid we're going to have problems. I even reached out to Campbellsville, head of the education department over there, and said, hey, if you have any people, send them over to Marion County. So I think with us being closer to, I think we stand better chances, and I would love that.
I also reached out to a lot of people and read a lot of your work. You did a lot of hard work on it, as others did, and I appreciate it. And it did help with me coming to a better decision on what to do with this. So I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll second, third, and fourth. Scott, thank you all. Thank you for the efforts that you all put in to gather information for us. I don't think that we can make informed decisions without your support and your help, so I appreciate that greatly. I do agree with what Joey said, that while one-time bonus it sounds, you know, like something worth investigating and figuring out. I think an additional 1% on top of what we've already approved it's long-standing. It's something that that employees can build upon year after year after year, and so you know, I do think that over time, it will be potentially of more value to them because it does hit their retirement. Plus, when you look at the competitive nature of salary schedules, and I know that our next door neighbor did a pretty substantial increase this year that we are going to have to compete with. And I know that a few years back, Mr. Cox, our former District 5 board member, and Ms. Downs, Peggy, you guys did a great deal of work on the Attract, Retain, Recruit Committee. In an effort to make sure that our salary schedule became more competitive with our neighbors. And so I would hate to see that work and that competitiveness go away. So, any other questions, comments on this one? Okay. So I need a motion on item 5D. I'll make a motion to consider approval of a revised 21-22 salary schedule to address possible additional staff compensation to include an additional 1% raise for all employees, making this a total of step plus 2%.
I'll second.
Any other questions, comments on that? All in favor? Aye. Sure. Peggy.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm trying to get the word.
I said a lot, sorry.
Good.
All good? Okay. Item 5E, I need a motion.
Make a motion to consider approval of the BG2 and BG3 for Marion County High School renovation and addition, BG number 21-103.
Second. Randy, want to talk to us a little bit about these documents?
Yeah,
and what they
actually,
mean?
Michael Leader, the project manager and project architect in our office, and actually is associated within our firm as well. So he's been leading the effort on this project, so I'm going to let him speak to the BG2, BG3, and if it's okay, the 100% DD development documents that are the next item, they're all kind of tied together. So,
Sure. Nice to see you all again. Of course, with the completion of the design development phase documents, we've turned in not only the drawings, but also the BG2 and BG3 form. The BG2 form, of course, just kind of covers a lot of general information about the design right now, in terms of some finishes, some of the systems. It's a lot of just description, really. The BG3, of course, is the cost opinion that we've done most recently as well to reflect the current design. So if there's any questions on either the BG2 or BG3, if you all want to discuss those at this time, before maybe talking about the design itself, or?
Would you maybe just highlight for everybody out there what those documents accomplish?
Sure. So in addition to what I already kind of described, you mean?
Sorry.
In addition to what I already kind of described. So those forms basically are part of the formal submittal process that we have to send and submit to KDE for their approval. So it's just basically another way of conveying information about the design to KDE for their review and approval so that they have as much information about the current status of the design as possible.
the BG2 is basically the specification outline for the project, so what all the materials are going into the project. And then the BG3 is the cost estimate, the updated cost estimate for the project. And I think it's important to note that the BG3, as it's been presented, is over the estimate that was contained on the BG1. And so some of the exact reasons that you all talked about earlier when we were talking about construction activities. So as everybody's aware, I'm sure we've seen quite an escalation in construction costs in recent months, over the past 9 to 12 months, basically, and even more recently, shortage of materials, mostly related to wood products and metal products, which there's a lot of materials that go into a facility that are specifically metal. That steel bar joist structural members, HVAC units, piping, all of that, electrical conduit, wiring. So there is an increase in that BG3. That's an estimate. The design team is continuing to evaluate that to see what items maybe we could consider reducing or pulling out of the project and listing as an alternate, so that at least on bid day, we have a base bid, and then there's decisions that board can make with regards to alternates that could be incorporated into the project depending on exactly how the bids come in on bid day.
And so we've got still, even in moving forward with this process and keeping the ball rolling, we still have flexibility with what that final picture and that final number looks like.
Yes. And again, we're still continuing to challenge our team, specifically our mechanical and electrical people, to look for savings and look for ways that we can more efficiently achieve the same goals.
If you want to, is there anything specific that we need to cover with the drawings, or yeah?
Not specifically, only here if y'all had any questions, but no dramatic changes from the last time I was here to present. So just here for you all.
It was a massive PDF. But
5 minutes to fully load.
We appreciate that.
Okay, so if we don't have any other questions or comments, all in favor of item 5E? Aye. I need a motion on item 5F.
Motion to consider approval of 100% design development for Marion County High School renovation and addition, BG number 21-103.
So now is this,
Peggy's the second.
no, I was trying to ask a question. So now is this where we talk about, do we need to discuss items that can be?
So I think there's a certain point at which we can identify potential alternates. When in this process would that be? I know that in meetings this past fall, we discussed the addition itself being a potential alternate on bid day. What other things could potentially be alternates up for consideration, and when would we look at those?
We talked about HVAC.
Yes, we've already identified an alternate. The base bid is the standard boiler cooling tower scenario, which is the scenario they have now. We're already considered an alternate for geothermal as an add alternate. It's not part of that base bid. The building addition can certainly be listed as an alternate. If you would like for us to, we would certainly glad to kind of start brainstorming some ideas about alternates and bring those to you at the next board meeting, for that matter, for your all's review and input. If you all have suggestions, we are absolutely open to those as well. Yes, we have portions of the site that we've kind of broken out that could be alternates.
Okay, great. So would we like to invite these gentlemen back to the
Anytime you want to.
Yeah, Randy, that would be great if you, and we'll kind of put the new caps on too to talk about potential as well on alternates.
Anything else that you want to think of, just,
I'll just keep going, keep the ball rolling.
okay. All right, so we've got HVAC, the addition, and then the different of what the site could look like. We've looked at a couple of different scenarios for parking.
Yep.
And,
Basically anything that they can come up with, brainstorming wise,
okay,
or whatever
and
you
have,
guys can come up with.
and have those ready for the next board.
July 8th. Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay. All in favor of item 5F? Aye. I need a motion for item 5G. Since it's a long one, I'll do it. Yeah. I'll make a motion to consider approval change order number 1 for Marion County Middle School construction project BG number 19-363, and we'll call it good there. With all that other stuff.
I'll say.
Scott, you wanna?
So we utilize what's called direct purchase orders. So the district purchases materials directly from the vendor that would be sales tax and large projects. This is a good one. Roger's coming in about $4,000 less for returning. You all approved the original direct purchase orders initially on the front of the project. We didn't use all those monies that were allocated, so we're getting that money back. So we got to have that. The next item, and that's to send the final report to the KDE. So this is a good one. This is a deduct change. Money coming back to the district.
Your report,
Exactly. Actually, the overall, the project got back by $15,000 on a couple of things that put his alternates didn't need. So
Yeah,
overall, we did a good job.
With this change order, we're actually up to about $19,400 in deductive change orders for that project, which is great. And hopefully, in the near future, we'll be coming back to you with the BG4 that will close that project out. We've got a couple of lingering punch list items, establishment of grass and
Sidewalk and
that we haven't gotten wrapped up from the contractor's perspective yet, so.
And then, sort of related question, there's a surplus that has to be a part of every project. How do those monies?
Contingency funds?
Yeah.
So yes, we didn't use any of that.
Yeah, that's right. So as we do the BG4, and that gets submitted to KDE, there's actually BG5 that Scott will do that completely closes the project out and puts those funds back into, I'm not sure how that works. Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion on 5H.
I make a motion to consider approval of Department of Education direct purchase order summary for the Marion County Middle School construction project, BG number 19-363.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion on item 5I.
I'll make a motion to consider approval of 2021-22 Kernville Ignite Insurance for property, general liability, inland marine, crime, vehicle, air emissions, SM&M law enforcement, workers' compensation, cyber liability, and umbrella for AEMI/Liberty Mutual for $427,698.
Second. Scott, the appraisals.
They're finishing up. They actually sent us a preliminary document today, actually, it's Monday. But so they're doing this. This will be pretty much a not to exceed. This is the worst case scenario on the property coverage. This you can pay each thing they put out. We spent $3,000 to do this appraisal, which their towns will save on that. So this is not to see. We can let you know next month. This was in effect July 1. Policy and then also budgetary out that budget this year. So I appreciate y'all willing to put this on.
So we did see an increase over last year's.
Absolutely.
Budget.
Yes, we did on all policies basically. Even the big one he pointed out was the two big ones were the workers' comp. That's just basically the claims you turned in. It's a 4-year rolling average. We do have a big year going to come off from next year, so that should help us come back down. And then the cyber liability insurance went up because of where we lived last year. And like I said, 199 to 209 includes that profit, so that number, the top number coming down.
So, and this number comes out this year's budget.
It could have, but this current fiscal year, they used to cover, and then pay this.
And if it's over, then we just get reimbursed for next year.
Yes. And we should have had it when we pay it. This is a not to see. We're finishing up the appraisal this week. So we should have it done with that next week.
Okay.
And we'll let y'all know that, what that number be coming in. Should be done that.
Thank you. Other questions? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion on item 5J.
I make a motion to consider approval of 21-22 locations of preschool classrooms.
Yeah, we need locations, so I sent numbers last week, based on where we are now, with, 2 classrooms at West Marion. We would have 4 available spots, 2 classrooms at Lebanon Elementary, 17 available. Glasscock, 2 classrooms, 11 available spots. And with Calvary having a classroom, we have a total of 14 with 6 available spots.
And these numbers are fluid, right?
Absolutely.
So-
And we are also using tuition numbers as well in these numbers.
Do you see a case in which we fill up all the spots?
Yes, I do.
And turn down students?
Yes, I do. And we would turn down those students with tuition because we are required to address our students with needs first. But these numbers look great. It'd be wonderful to keep tuition spots as well as have these, so.
Is it possible that we fill up and we wouldn't turn away students that qualify, right?
We are not allowed to.
Right, so any student qualifies. So in that case, do you ever see a situation where all the rooms would fill up and we would need to approve another room?
If you have $250,000.
So about what it is for another room?
Well, maybe two.
Well, those numbers also include the students who will transition from first steps, and they transition as they turn 3. I carve out a slot for them to make sure some of those may not qualify. Some parents may elect to do services only, and then some may move.
but I keep a spot. So that's kind of a moving target there. And some of those kids don't turn 3 until February and March. So they may end up, well, let's just do services. I'm not going to go into the classroom until next year. So there is some flexibility in those numbers. Interventions we typically did at the end of the school year, but we're doing them beginning of the school year next year. So we have a few of those kids who are intervention kids who may end up being tuition kids or they may not qualify, the parents don't want to pay tuition, so they don't come. So there is flexibility there in the numbers.
So typically we have right in 140 students, so we have had one year where we actually had such a need that we were not allowed we couldn't serve our tuition. So we're, we have about 140 in and out in our
So it's pretty much all the classrooms full.
every classroom are full.
2019.
We had turned away. And then, when we talk about universal preschool, we do look at our parochial school and also our private. So, we typically run anywhere between 200 to 250 district-wide, kind of preschool numbers. Now, when school starts, we'll break that down for you. So you'll see the number of 3-year-olds we're addressing, as well as the number of 4-year-olds, and we will do that by location, including those other facilities as well, Head Start, St. A, and our private.
And whenever you go start talking about adding classrooms and money, what's most of that? Is that?
That's going to be salary. Like for instance, if we add a classroom at Calvary, okay, and it's not been there, and the reason we're able to do that is, based on Mr. Lyons' enrollment numbers, we are down enrollment at Calvary. All right, so we are going to have to add a playground. So, we are talking about some expense, and so depending on the number of students and their needs will depend on the number of staff and what kind of staff we have to have. So you've got, your playground, there's certain equipment, there's certain cafeteria tables that you have to have. And some of that stuff, like once you buy it, you've got it,
Right,
it's
and then
there.
you transfer.
And our thought is, like with the Calvary, we're obviously looking at EG1, that's going to be something that we're going to pick up and move there. But there's certain things just for the site. There has to be shade. There has to be a circle so they can ride their little big wheel, because it's about gross motor skills as well as fine motor skills. And when I say 250, that would be like a complete and total classroom. Once you've got the classroom established, then if you were to add, and unfortunately what happens is preschool's not fully funded. And so that comes out. Now, what I think I had mentioned before, and maybe I haven't, I had lots of conversations, but I'd really love to see us look at what some of our neighboring districts do, which is that we have not just preschool, but we also have a daycare opportunity for our students. And that would be 5 days a week. And maybe we would look at something like maybe from 6 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or, I'm just throwing out some numbers like that, but some of our neighboring districts provide that, and that would be something that when we talk about attracting staff and retaining them and recruiting them, sometimes childcare is an issue. If I have bus duty at 7:30 and I can't, I have to drop my kids off at a certain place, or if I have a faculty meeting after school, if someplace already has daycare on campus and they're there until 5 or 5:30, that could be something we talk about our big dreams about, like, what are we going to do next? Think about if we could have our kids 5 days a week and look at the possibility of them being with us earlier. Just throwing that out there.
And maybe I've already asked this before, but is this a situation moving the classroom to Calvary that we can use some of the ESSER money for, or do we not know that?
Now, what we would do in this instance, I don't know about the playground equipment, but, if we don't have the 3 classrooms at Glasscock, there would be furniture and things that we would move from there too. And then as far as staff, we're keeping the same staff, we're just relocating one of the classrooms, so it would be a playground issue.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, just the playground or whatever needs to be done to do it now to get it up.
The nice part is we do have a classroom there that has the restroom sink, so we don't have to worry about that per se. And right now, again, because of the enrollment, we can actually put the classroom.
But I remember Scott, I tell you, he just reminded me how much a hound he was. It was always the playground one day, always the playground.
But
Going forward, that playground can be moved from the old
Yes.
school to the new school,
Yes.
so.
Amy, so if my math is right, we've got 38 remaining seats when we count all 4 elementary schools. Does that, and so approximately. So the numbers that we're counting as seats held does include people who've applied on a tuition basis?
Yes.
Okay. So we have, great. Absolutely. It was Peggy. You made a motion, yes, and I did not write down. Okay. So we do need to update that motion. So can you update it to include the locations? So we've got.
I make a motion to consider approval of 21-22 locations of preschool classrooms, 2 at West Marion Elementary School, 2 at Lebanon Elementary School, 2 at Glasscock Elementary School, and 1 at Calvary Elementary.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion on item 5K.
Make a motion to consider approval of bond of depository versus pledge of collateral.
I'll second.
This is literally just a piece of paper. Nothing has changed other than the form that was emailed to us to say this is the new form, and it was just a word.
Correct.
The title, the word in the body,
It was
exactly the same, it literally changed. Budget, or from bond and depository to budget collateral.
So the language in the form is.
Y'all approved it last month.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion on item 5L.
Motion to consider approval of disposal of surplus items.
Any questions? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion on item 5M. I'll make a motion to consider approval of the 21-22 memorandum of agreement with Central Kentucky Head Start.
This was just originally on the support items considered, but my wife wrote this, so I want to abstain from voting on it.
All in favor? Aye. I need a motion on item 6.
Make a motion.
All.
Joey.
Yeah, just the student marketing support, the same items.
Okay.
I'll second. Any questions on any of these individual pieces?
No, but we appreciate the donations from Marion County Farm Bureau and as well as soil conservation. Appreciate that too.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Item 7 is acknowledgement of personnel actions, so acknowledged, and I need a motion on item 8.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for taking care of me.